Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Jason.
I've been doing this podcast since September of 2012, and boy, are my lips tired.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Jody Lynn and her husband are giving sleigh rides today in Alberta, Canada, so they're not going to be able to join us.
Sounds very Christmassy.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's the time of season, right? Yeah, it's the thing to do this time of year.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking to her first part of next year. And I just got your note. I misspelled your name, didn't I? I apologize for that.
Oh my God. Strickle.
It's strictly Strickle. Yeah, that's right. So I'll make sure I'll fix that on the final episode. But anyway, so the book's been out now for a few weeks.
It has.
How are sales going?
It's doing very, very well. The hardcover is finally shipping. I don't have the hardcover with me. I have the soft, though. The paperback's here. Right. The TYA practice book. It's doing great. It's doing very, very well. And we're really happy. I've told most people that I sort of guide them toward the paperback if they are torn of what, which one to get, because I think it's going to be very useful for people that are really into TYA as like a workbook and a living, mark the page, dog ear,
right.
Highlight, do all of that sort of thing. I think most people are using it like that. So that makes me happy.
Unfortunately, I'm one who doesn't do that. To me, that's desecration of a book, but I totally get it for those people who do it.
Now, what do you prefer? Do you prefer hard paperback or ebook?
Oh God, it depends on my mood. I've done a lot of ebook lately, but sometimes I just like to have a physical book in my hand. I think it depends on the book.
Yeah, I do hardcover books because I'm rebuilding. I had a big physical library at one time, and when I downsized to a condo, I got rid of all my books. I put everything on Kindle. I've got hundreds of books on Kindle, and I thought, oh, this is so great. Everything will be right here in this device. I'm going to take this, but I never use my Kindle anymore. I never use my iPad anymore. I use the phone, for everything. Okay. And it's a little too small to read a book on the phone. I can, but it's a little too small. So I'm back to hardcover, and I like having a physical library again. All those books just make me so happy, whether I ever read them a second time or not. There it is. Somebody else can read it that's visiting.
I hear you. Well, I mean, I like my iPad for exactly that, for reading ebooks. I love it for that because it's just the right screen size. But there are just times where it just feels good to have the book in your hand. And depending on, like, this is a book that I would prefer holding it in my hand just because of the nature of the topic. Some topics, I'm kind of scanning it to see, okay, do I really like this book I just bought? I'm not really sure. A topic I know that I like, that's where I feel like I want to hold it in my hand because it becomes more personal. It's part of me that way.
Well, it's our vibe too. We grew up with physical books, and the ebook thing was a little later for us. But it's funny, when I was younger, I thought, well, gosh, I'm not going to be like those old people that drive the old cars and have everything old in their house. No matter how old I am, I'm always going to want to be at the forefront and have everything new. Now that I'm 55, going on 56, I really understand. I have a 10-year-old car because I can't buy a car with like that now.
I hear you.
It's not completely analog. It's got navigation, all that stuff, but it's not. You go look at the new version of my car, and it's all touchscreen. The whole thing is just a big touchscreen.
Right.
And it's got so much technology packed into it that there's no real driving experience anymore. I don't resonate with that.
That's something that's starting to go away too. I mean, we don't fully have cars on the highway that are to fully automated, but we're a lot closer than we ever were before.
It's very, very close. I lived in San Francisco 5 years ago, and there were self-driving Uber had all these self-driving Volvos running around, and they had these big round, like almost like a satellite dish on top. It was kind of an odd looking thing, but there was nobody in the car, and you would see this car driving down the road with nobody in it.
Yeah.
And I think they outlawed it for a little while. I'm not sure what they're doing with that now,
well,
but I lived there years ago.
That's what it was. I mean, it's
I did. It freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, oh shit, there's somebody in that car.
Yeah, right.
But it knows what it's doing. I don't know that there were any incidents. I'm sure there was something, but I don't know of anything major going on. But not compared to human error for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's always going to be the case. The whole scenario that really has nothing to do with what is more safe. The real scenario is how do people feel about it. Feeling is still the secret, even if it's something about this. It's still the secret.
Yeah,
no matter what.
The ego.
Yeah,
you take the ego out, and But the thing is too, though, but with my ego, I also feel like I have this, well, it's probably more the source version of me, the sixth sense though, where I can anticipate what someone else is going to do driving. And I think everybody probably has some version of that. I'm not sure. I
Sure.
know I do when I drive that.
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell that I know that car up there is about to do something stupid, or I know
Right.
they're,
Right.
and I don't think a computer can do that. It can just
I wouldn't
react
put it
right up
past
to that
with
car's
AI.
car.
I wouldn't put it past them. I'm just saying the amount of data that they're able to work with.
AI is that good where it's going to just have that innate knowing that hey, that car is going to cut me off in a minute, or someone's going to come flying up beside me to pass me on the right.
Actually, I'm thinking AI is in its infancy. I mean, it's a
Oh
little
yeah,
tiny baby at this point, like by comparison to where it's going to be, say, in 5 or 10 years.
sure.
So
Well, the
yeah.
stream says, and in fact, I just recorded a podcast where they talked about this. That we're creating the technology that creates us.
Oh,
But
okay.
that's where we are. It's easy to look at humanity and think that we're all idiots. I understand that, but we really aren't. We really are creating amazing things, including technology that
Mm.
is so much like us that it's the same thing. If you think about Earth and humanity, we are technology. We are a type of technology. We are designed. I don't believe for a second that we just happened.
Yeah,
There's
I
too
used to
much
believe that, but
complexity.
yeah, there is. It's just there are too many things coming together just too perfectly. I mean, I don't care how long that monkey types that typewriter. He needs to have some smarts before he can type Shakespeare. There's just it's got to be there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, well, actually, that ties into where I want to go today because you told me before we got started here that you have gotten back into doing some channeling recently, which is really cool. I'm glad you're doing that. I've been wanting to ask you something about channeling because I've
Okay.
been kind of practicing with. I guess it's channeling. I'm not sure exactly. It's basically connecting with inner being and asking myself questions and trying to see what answers come out. And the one stumbling block that I keep running into is a mental one, which is basically I can't tell the difference between me thinking it and saying it and me saying it. The perspective sounds the same to me. And I'm wondering, how do you separate that in your mind?
It's a very interesting thing you just brought up because when I started doing it in the very, very beginning, I was forcing it. And I wasn't doing this publicly. I would go down. I lived in San Francisco in a high rise, and I would go down to my car in the parking garage underground because I didn't want my neighbors to hear me doing this.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so I would go to the parking garage underground. I would turn the voice recorder on my iPhone, and I would
Right.
just sit there and okay, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to raise my vibe, and then the stream's going to flow because I'd already started writing it. I can
Mhm.
kind of get into that space and start writing it, and then once I would start writing, it would sort of take over, and
Okay.
all
So
this clarity
automatic
would
writing.
drop in.
Yeah.
So it's the drop in clarity part.
Mm.
And what I was trying to, it was really weird. It was really, really, I haven't listened to it in a long time. It was really weird in the beginning. And I was like wanting to invite something in to possess me. And I
Oh,
never got that. But then I did start, the drop ins were very forced. But I came to understand in my clarity of it that I was the one creating that experience because I was freaked out by it and I was having to create something that sounded very different than me for the experience of it. And so then when I got to the point where I could quiet my mind, breathe, and set the intention, which is very important. From
mhm.
here forward, I'm channeling the stream. I'm allowing source to speak through me.
Right.
And then that's why we are here. That's the cutoff.
Okay.
David is still present. The stream is there. We are here. And I think back, I don't know if I invented that or if I took it from Abraham's preamble. Have you ever been to an Abraham or listened to Abraham at the
Yeah.
very beginning? And they always do that.
Right.
Good morning. We're very glad that you're here. And they kind of
Yeah.
go into it. That's what she's doing.
Well, I always love
She's,
how she's before she does it. The last thing she says to you as Esther, she says goodbye.
yeah. Well, and I had Michael watch a couple of her. He hasn't watched many of them, but I had him watch a couple of times. He's a psychologist and he's actually taught hypnosis and understands all of that stuff. And he says it's like a form of self hypnosis. And she's
Yeah.
also bringing the audience along if they choose to go on sort of this hypnotic experience. And what it really is raising the vibration.
Mhm.
They're so
Yes.
excited to see Abraham. Oh my gosh, sources flowing through. We're
And it's
all
palpable.
happy to be here.
I mean, when you're at those workshops, you feel it. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
not a
Yeah,
slight
it's a collect.
increase, it's
Now, if you go
massive.
there and you think it's all stupid and you want to have that experience, you're going to have that experience. You're going to sit there with your arms crossed and say, these people are all weirdos and idiots. And what do they think? What are these people on? I'm not feeling it. Well, because they're resisting it.
Mm,
And you can do that. You can do that
it's
because it's
possible.
a fear-based resistance. I had somebody,
But it would be harder. I mean, just because of how powerful the vibe is when you're in a room that large with so many people who have bought into it, you feel a vibe. You may not like it, you may want to resist it, but it's not like it's not there. You know it's there.
yeah. Yeah, I had somebody, I did a live, and I did one live at the beginning of 2022, and I haven't done one since, and I want to get back to doing that again now, part of my break.
Okay.
But Luke, Luke has been on your show, TYA Luke,
Right.
LUQ. His brother, he brought his brother to my workshop in LA,
Oh, cool.
and his brother came up and sat, and I don't stand in front of them. I sit and just kind of chat with them, but I'm definitely channeling.
Right.
And he sat, and he came in as a skeptic. He came in thinking that it was a cult and his brother was getting indoctrinated into something, and
Mm.
he was going to stop it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, like, I'm stopping all this. And my brother's, you're not going to take my brother.
Right.
And he says, and I don't remember this happening, but I remember what happened after the fact, because he even said it. We even have a video clip of him talking about it, where he says he came and sat and looked into my eyes and immediately was transformed because he knew he wasn't talking to a human being.
Really interesting.
Yeah, and he came as a skeptic. So he had resistance, but I think when he got in the room and in the space and the vibe of it and realized we weren't all a bunch of, weirdos.
Right.
Maybe we are, but we were friendly weirdos, so he was okay with it.
Well, we're our kind of weirdo. We like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mind being called a weirdo. So he had an experience, and it was very moving for him.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I love that story because that was one of those times that, I wasn't setting an intention to I'm not trying to
Right.
convert people
Right.
ever.
Right.
I'm offering it. If you're into it, great. If you're not, great.
Yeah.
But here it is for those that are into it. That's what's summoning all this. So bring it on. Oh, we have matching mugs today.
We do. Yeah. I got my TYA mug. I use my TYA mug every single episode.
Well, I love that you do that. Thank you. I have 3 or 4. I have a new line of TYA stuff coming out.
Oh, you do? Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to talk about that too.
Yeah,
But I wanted to ask you more about
I'll
the
show it to
channeling.
you. I'll show it to you before we talk about it. But yeah, it's some new stuff that people have
So
asked
I
for.
love what you described when I brought up the whole topic of what it feels like and so forth when you're channeling. But I still can't answer that one piece for myself. I'm hoping you can find a way to help me get there. I have trouble differentiating my own voice from my
Just
voice.
raise your vibe, set the intention, start speaking. Don't judge whether it's from you or them, and then suddenly you'll get clarity. Or writing, however you want to channel.
I've tried
Take the
I've tried it
judgment
with
out. And
writing. I
in
do
the
it
beginning,
better.
in the we are here, I'm still very present.
Mhm.
And then the speaking starts, and then suddenly I don't remember anything, and then all this clarity comes out. And sometimes it's still vibrational, so sometimes it's a very powerful message.
Okay. So there's that's where I think the difference is because you're definitely more practiced at this, a lot more practiced at it than I am. I haven't gotten to the point where I feel like I've given up my conscious awareness of what I'm saying. And I
Yeah,
think that's
it just
probably why.
happens naturally. And if you want to call that a trance, it's fine. I don't feel like I'm, being possessed by something, because it's still me. It's still my vocabulary,
Mhm.
my language. They're not coming and speaking in other languages through me, or tongues or anything like that.
Right, right.
Um, I just don't perceive it that way. I perceive it as source. Source is the creator of all things, and certainly the creator of us, and can utilize my physical vehicle if I so allow to be more direct.
Mhm.
It's getting my ego out of the way.
I guess that's what it is. I've tried it actually on the podcast on a number of occasions. The first time I tried it was about, I'm going to say 5 years ago, something like that. When most of the time, I mean, people who are on the show, co-hosts, guests, they compliment me on how good I am at asking questions and so forth, keeping the conversation going and redirecting and all that kind of stuff. And it's true. I mean, it's actually a skill I learned from my father. But every once in a while, I run out. It's like I don't know what the next thing is I want to ask about. And early on, what I would do is I'd kind of stumble through that, make a joke about it and so forth. And then one day I decide I'm going to try to channel to see if I can get channeling to come up with the right question. And I was really scared about it. I'm because I'm doing it live, right? I'm doing it while I'm recording the darn thing. But I said, okay, I'm going to go for it because right now I have no idea what to ask this guest that I'm talking to. So I opened my mouth just to see what would come out. And I stumbled around for about 5 seconds with, half phrases and so forth, and then all of a sudden stuff started coming out. And when it came out, I could tell I was speaking clear English. I wasn't at all clear what was going to come out next, where I was going with it. It seemed like I was meandering, actually. It felt to me like I wasn't going anywhere. Like, is this actually going to come out coherent by the time I'm done? I actually went back later on to listen to the episode to see if it actually made sense, and it actually did. It made sense. I was really cool. I was so happy it made sense, but I had no idea what it was going to be. So that to me is the closest I've been able to come to feeling like it was not my voice, so to speak, not my conscious voice. And it sounds like that's what you're talking about when you're saying getting the ego out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. And the resistance around it. And we have a set language that we've chosen to use just for consistency. And I picked it up from Abraham, where they refer to themselves as we, multiple, and they refer to me as David, and I refer to them as the stream, and because we don't have other words to really describe, it is source, it is the energetic realm, it is everything really that's coming through. I will also say that I believe we all channel in different ways, and that some people have the gift of channeling, that it's a gift it's sort of like they're in alignment at birth with being a channel, and then they choose to allow it and then develop it or not. Whitney Houston is one of my favorite singers, and certainly most people think she's one of the greatest singers of our time. And I believe she was born into a scenario where her mother and her aunt were, really well-known singers, and she came with a gift because she was in that vibration of that gift, and she developed it, and she learned, it's a combination of things. So it may be that your gift is interviewing. You have other gifts, and maybe it's just something that's just not going to necessarily develop for you. Not everyone is a great singer.
Right.
Not everyone is going to be a great channel.
Yeah. And I'm really not interested in being a channel for somebody else. I mean, within the context of doing the show, I'm going to do it for that.
Well,
mainly I'm trying to do it for me.
Clarity in your mind. I do believe the common thread of source is in all of us, certainly. And what we get when we raise our vibration is that clarity that drops into your mind. Now, whether you ever speak it and write it in a way that is understandable, I don't know. I don't think everybody can do that. I think the channeling part, or the source connection part, everybody does have that. And everybody has a talent, a given, if you want to call it a God-given or natural ability. And if you develop it, that's great. I heard Adele tell Oprah in an interview a couple of years ago, she says, when I start singing, it's not coming from me anymore. It's coming from somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
She's channeling.
Yeah.
Oprah didn't really go into all that. Oprah's very well aware of what channeling is. She's had Abraham on her show.
Oh, yeah.
But she, they didn't really go down that path, but it was interesting to hear Adele. I'm going to go see her in February. I'm very excited about that. I was very excited to hear Adele say that. She's just, one of the things people love about her is she's so real and honest, and she's just herself.
Yeah.
And then she sings, and it's like another world. But she, said it's not coming from me anymore. I go someplace else when I sing, and it comes from somewhere else. She gets it.
You got to appreciate.
She calls it channeling or trance or whatever. She gets it, and and not everybody's going to do that. We're not all here to do the same thing.
Well, also I wanted to ask you, what do you think about? Because I've had people on the podcast, other people who are also channels, and some of them they speak specifically of how they channel certain spirit guides or particular famous people from history or whatever. And I'm curious what your take is on that.
I believe everything has value, and everybody operates in a belief system. And if you are giving something power and that's your belief system, then that's true for you. I believe the energetic realm is an amalgam of source. It's source / God, however you want to label that. It's all encompassing. It's not individualized the way that we are in physical. Now, I think that you can set an intention to tap into a vibration. I set an intention when I wrote my first book, and some of the writing in this book, to tap into Wayne Dyer. Tap into the Wayne Dyer energy, because I liked his writing and his vibe. And I at that time didn't feel worthy as an author. So I kind of felt like I need help. Where's Truman Capote? Where's
right.
Where are these great writers of the world? And in doing that, I do think it made my writing better, but I now no longer feel the need to do that.
Okay.
I believe now in my belief system that I write very well, especially when I'm channeling. And I
Well,
believe
makes
that
sense.
when I'm at my best channeling, the spoken word is great, and it's not the same every time, certainly. But if I'm really in the vibe of it, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And that first message that I shared was a very impromptu. I would meditated, boom, it's time to go channel again, go hit record on StreamYard and put a podcast out. And that's what I did. And it was great. And I came back and I was in tears
Wow.
in
Wow.
tears. Now I just recorded another one and it wasn't that powerful, but it also wasn't the first one in a year
Right.
that I
Right.
did. I will tell you though that when I've taught some master classes and boot camp and stuff like that, certainly over this year that I took off from trance channeling,
Right.
and the stream still shows up.
Hmm.
Harry would say that in a heartbeat. Oh, the stream's flowing. We hear the stream now. It's not David anymore. So when I get my vibe high enough and I'm in that teaching mode, the stream just kicks in naturally. But I see that people love talking to the stream directly. After that episode on my podcast, we just put it out. I am flooded with questions now in my email for the stream.
I believe it.
Flooded.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Well, I
it's
know what
it's
that's
so
like because I
funny.
mean, you were on the show here for about a 6-month period. You were a co-host, so like every single week, I was getting that opportunity to talk to the streamer almost every week. Sometimes it was just you and me, without the stream being directly involved as a trans channel. But
Mhm.
it's a wonderful experience. And I don't know, did I ever tell you you actually fulfilled a dream for me by coming on the show and doing that? Because I always thought that Jerry Hicks had the best job in the world because he got to interview Esther while she was channeling Abraham.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
And I
we
always
can
thought
certainly do
that
more
was
of
fun.
that. I'm up for coming back and channeling more. And yeah, Jerry was a really cool guy, um, a very inquisitive person.
Yeah,
And I got into Abraham when he was still around. He was still in physical form when I got into
right.
Abraham. That's how long ago it's been now. Um, and I liked that. And he was obviously the driver behind all the books because they haven't done any more books,
Absolutely.
since he's
Yeah,
departed. And
right.
he was a big part of creating all that. And
Yeah.
I'm impressed that she's kept it going since his passing.
Yeah,
I'm sure that
I'm
was not
also
easy
very
for her
curious about
because
that.
he was definitely a key driver behind all of that.
He was a
And then he
big
goes
energy.
and he's like, "Hey, I've got this following. I've got this great thing that I do. It's fun. It brings money in. People love it. Keep doing it." And she's
Mhm.
probably had to set aside a lot of fear and grief to be able to move forward and do that.
I'm pretty sure she has in every single, session that she's done since his passing, she has made reference to him during her channeling experience. Um, the one time I went to a workshop was after he had passed, and at some point, I don't remember exactly what was going on, but she was addressing somebody's question, and, then she said something in a slightly different tone. She said, "Oh, that was Jerry." So,
Well,
he's
that energy
part
again,
of
it's
it.
consciousness. The even the memory of Jerry is consciousness of Jerry.
Mhm.
So of course that's always going to be around as long as she's and as long as she's keeping it alive, then
Sure.
it's present.
Yeah, because he was a huge part of her life, so of course that's gonna happen. It's also kinda cool though. So
Yeah.
but I'm really glad you got back into channel. That's really great. And,
Yeah, I
what was the
never
most.
intended to never do it again. I just
Yeah.
I felt the need to take a break. You know what it really was? I had expanded my human I had raised my vibration enough and detuned enough to where I had evolved enough with their message that I got to a point where I realized that I needed to set their stuff aside and start applying it in my life
Ah,
for a while on a
yeah,
higher level. And
yeah,
it was after, the events of December of last year,
right.
which I try not to talk about anymore because I don't want to give that any more life. um,
Gee, I wonder why. House burning
yeah.
down? Yeah.
So that I took the year to really work on me vibrationally and mentally and physically. I got my back surgery done and I'm much better now as a result of that. And I need to take a little time and just work on me and not focus so much on the channeling. But I am a channel. I will be a channel for the rest of my life. The stream is flowing. I don't anticipate taking more time off from it. And that's clearly what everybody wants.
Mm.
So,
Well, it's fun. I mean,
well, and I
seriously.
had
I
to
mean,
thank everybody on the pod. I mean, thank you all for sticking around and listening to the podcast. Obviously you love the stream and you only got me for a year, but now they're getting the stream again.
it's fun. It's fun because first of all, it's just plain fun. Second of all, like you mentioned before, there's tremendous amounts of unexpected wisdom that comes through whenever you're doing it. And I always like the part where you said, they never said that before. That's the first time they said that one.
Oh
This
yeah,
this
and
this
that's
is
you're
great. Yeah.
inquisitive enough to where that happened a few times on here. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. But that's fun. That's to me, that's part of the reason
Oh
that it
yeah,
is
I
fun.
geek out on this stuff. Seriously.
I think we do too. Yeah. So I'm really glad you're getting back to that. So the book is doing well. And what kind of feedback are you getting on the book?
I get positive at this point. We haven't really started pushing the book to people beyond we're not marketing the book other than to our audience. So it's a
Local
very
folks.
friendly audience at this point.
Right,
So
right.
we have,
Yeah.
all 5-star reviews. We had one negative review, and it was somebody that reviewed it the day it got published.
Okay.
So they didn't
I
read
think you
it.
told me about that. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so they didn't read it. But I'll get other, I will know that we're hitting a larger audience when I start getting the mixed reviews. When I get,
Right.
this is stupid, this is crazy, I don't fully get this is too woo woo, or
Yeah.
I get it, but it's frustrating. And then other people will say it changes their, and that's okay. That's really what the book is going to do. It's
Hmm.
not for everybody.
Right.
It could be for everybody, but not everybody is ready for this type of thought. That
Well,
if you
that's the
boil
fun
it
part.
down to the stream is and TYA is appreciation of all things,
Yes.
period. That's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. They're just not
Yeah.
ready to get in that space of appreciation of all things yet. But people that have suffered enough, very often that they don't feel there's another alternative. Okay, how do I do that? How do I appreciate all things? And TYA is the path to doing that.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of a very emotionally descriptive way of saying when we get in a bad enough place, we say, "Okay, I'm done. I don't need to be here anymore. How do I get out? Where's the exit?" And
Mhm.
like that's what the TIE practice is. The TIE practice is the exit.
Yeah. Well, if you're really paying attention to what's going on in the news and social media, it's always the world is ending,
Oh
the
yeah,
sky is falling,
more and
humanity
more
is,
often than ever before. Interestingly enough.
well, it has to keep amping up, right? It has to keep
Yeah.
growing. That vibration just keeps growing and growing and growing. But that's also what is spitting a lot of us out of the matrix.
Mm.
You get a little older and you realize, okay, I've been hearing this crap my whole life, and I'm just not going to pay attention to that anymore. I'm going to go find joy in my day.
I think we kind of get worn out on it. Like, okay,
Yeah, of course.
I've
It's got to
done
be
that.
tiring. These people that
Yeah.
sit glued to their, political news channel all day long,
Right.
and all they do is hate, 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 and all the, the commentators are just, this person's wrong and that person's wrong and this is awful and this is terrible and the world's going downhill and they're coming to get you
Hmm.
and they're after you, and it's just gotta really get tiring. I can't listen to that
Yeah.
for 10 minutes without, okay, this is not me. I'm going to move on.
I think
They're
that's why
having
we
their
don't listen
experience,
to it
good
for
for
10 minutes.
them, but I'm not going to start absorbing this stuff. I don't have to run from it and hide from it, which I love. There was a time that I did feel the need to do that. I can turn it on now. I can watch some really, I watched that movie that's out on Christmas night, that Saltburn movie. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's a popular movie. It just got, I think it's on Netflix now, and it's one of those dark, not dark comedy, it's just dark.
Yeah. Right.
Very dark. And I watched the whole thing. I didn't think it was a particularly great movie, but it was interesting enough. And I sat through the whole thing. Michael slept through it. And I thought, I like that I can watch something like that, on Christmas of all days at the end of the day to unwind. And it
Mm.
certainly was not an uplifting message, but I'm not impacted by it other than I've just observed it. I experienced it without judgment. And now I come out the other side thinking, okay, it wasn't the greatest movie I ever saw, but it was an experience.
I find that with movies or any other kind of entertainment like that, or news, which I guess is a form of entertainment, or politics or whatever else, I find that I'm not affected by it the way I used to be affected by it. But there's still a little bit of that vibrational dust that you talk about in the Thai practice. In that I find that if I'm watching something like what you just described, I get fatigued. Like, oh God, how much more of this am I going to watch?
Yeah. Well, and, we can all discern a preference to turn it off, especially if it's lowering
Right.
your vibe and you don't want it to.
Yeah.
Where I've gotten is it doesn't lower my vibe anymore.
Hmm.
Usually it's not going to, things like that don't lower my vibe. And if I feel it lowering my vibe, I realize my vibe was already down to begin with when I clicked on this,
Good
social
point.
media post or whatever it is, or I wouldn't be
Right.
observing it in this way.
Right.
When I'm observing everything in appreciation, I know my vibe is high.
Right. Which is that, and that's really the challenge right there. That to me, the first time that I got exposed to that concept in Thai boot camp, the idea that you need to learn to appreciate everything. I remember I probably have the same reaction most people have when they encounter that for the first time. Like, what the hell are you talking about, David?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's the
we're
first
told
reaction.
if we don't hate on something, it's not going to get solved. And it's exactly opposite. The physical world, our matrix operates in reverse of universal law. Universal law, you put the cart before the horse always.
Hmm.
You consciously create that which you want to achieve, and then
Mhm.
physical reality catches up to that, right? If you allow
Right,
it
right.
to. Well, then why not, when you observe war? I know that's a big topic right now. We have a couple of big wars going on.
Oh, yeah.
So you observe war and you're judging it as bad and wrong and should not be, and they're evil and wanting to pick a side and all that stuff. The energy is you're feeding it. You're
Yeah.
giving it power.
Yeah.
And when you stop giving it power, then it gets solved. Well-being returns always. If you look at our planet, the way our planet operates, we always return to well-being no matter what. Now, we're not eternal and physical. So yes, physical life forms can exit physical reality, but that's in the energetic realm. That's no big deal.
Mm.
This is one of infinite experiences. So if the physical experience has ended and we're not judging it, then it was just an experience. So anything that we're observing in judgment, we're fueling. We're creating more of it. And we see evidence of that everywhere. We don't have world peace. We haven't solved war. We haven't solved hunger. We haven't solved healthcare. We haven't solved homelessness. We haven't solved, any of these things, because the Matrix teaches us you got to hate on it, and you got to talk about it, and you got to focus on it, and you got to send all your energy to it, and that keeps it alive. Appreciation detunes. Deep understanding detunes. So I see people on Facebook, I pro-Israel, anti-Israel, I see that on my Facebook page from people that I actually physically know.
Mm.
On Christmas, there was some pretty significant messages on Christmas Day from the two sides of these arguments on my Facebook page. Not
Right.
arguing with each other, just people I happen to know that don't know each other.
Right.
And my response to that is I appreciate all sides of what's happening there. Deep understanding. They're all operating in their belief system. This group of people believes this, and they're willing to fight and kill and die for it. And this people believe this other thing, and they're willing to kill and die and fight for it. And as long as they stay in that belief system, they're keeping it alive. And as long as we're all fueling it and taking a side in it, we're keeping it alive also, because it's polarized. But when we take our focus away and say, hey, I'm just going to appreciate all of it. I'm not going to.
That's the point I was about to address, actually. Because
how dare you?
well, not so much.
How dare you
there is that
appreciate
one too. Don't get me wrong. There that definitely exists. No, for me, it's more along the lines of, if I'm looking at somebody's viewpoint, or hearing or reading their viewpoint, I'm very quickly into the realm of, all right, that's what their perspective is. So that's what they're creating in their lives. I can see the evidence of what they're creating in their lives. I can see it piling up that way. But as I'm paying attention to that, is there any degree to which I'm contributing to it simply because I'm paying attention to it?
Yeah, I think our humanity's the collective consciousness creates.
Yeah.
Obviously. And the things that we really hate on don't get solved. Mass shootings is another example of that.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even have to be hating about it, just simply giving attention to it.
When I say hating on the negative attention, that that should not be labeled, which I understand why you view something like that and label it as this shouldn't be happening. It's got to stop.
Sure. Yeah.
I understand it completely. But I also know it doesn't solve things. The solving of things is always in the appreciation of them. That's why we guide you in TYA to appreciate your transgressors, because it takes their power away. It detunes them.
Yeah.
And do it authentically. If you don't do it authentically, all these people. Sometimes I see the word gratitude put out there, and gratitude feels sort of inauthentic to me. It's sort of a spiritual catchphrase that people, I have such gratitude for, do you really? And how do you feel? Do you have gratitude for your transgressors? Do you really appreciate them? Are you saying that because you want to be there? It's a step, just like forgiveness is a step. But to me, there is no detuning power like full-blown appreciation, which is deep understanding. I want to understand. I want to understand how somebody could walk into a room full of innocent people and kill them. I want to understand that. I don't want to just hating on them does nothing. And all we do is hate on them. Oh, they're a monster. They're terrible. The parents are at fault. There shouldn't be guns, whatever it is. That's not solving anything. The solving of is what's inside this person's head. What's the vibe? What's the belief that drives that?
And that tapping in that way that you're just describing, I'll call it a high vibrational tapping in. That's the part that I'm wondering about when I say, am I feeding it even when I'm high vibrational about it? Am I helping to feed the narrative?
Yeah. My belief is that does feed it. My belief is also that there's nothing wrong with that, because everything that we're
Right.
experiencing on
Yeah, it's
Earth
not
is
about right or wrong.
perfection.
It's
Because
just
that's the
what's the
expansion of
process?
consciousness. The people
Yeah,
that are suffering, whether they're physically actually in it suffering,
right.
or the people that are suffering in their judgment of what's happening, they're having an expansion of consciousness experience, which is no worse or lower than what I'm experiencing.
Right. Yeah, and so for me, it isn't so much about judging it, it's more about understanding the process of it. The process is I am in a high appreciation state, basically feeding energy into this scenario, whatever the scenario is,
Mhm.
a scenario that many people, perhaps most people would say was negative or bad or wrong or something along that line. And so I'm asking myself, to what degree am I feeding into that, and to what degree am I helping to shift it? Because like you said, solutions only come from that high vibrational appreciative state. So that's why I wonder. Maybe that's what gratitude is all about. Because gratitude
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
not
I think
quite as high
gratitude
as,
is a way there, but
yeah.
you gotta go. My opinion is you gotta go beyond gratitude and beyond forgiveness.
But even if you get to beyond the gratitude, beyond forgiveness, to the appreciative state, you're still feeding. It's just I'm asking myself, how does
You're
that
feeding it in a
process work?
positive way, which is healing energy. Think
Okay,
about
so
think
you think
about it
it's
in
actually a
terms
healing
of
thing going on.
think about nature.
Okay.
You have a beautiful forest ecosystem untouched by humanity. It's just happening organically.
Right.
A storm comes through and kills some of the beings and wipes out some of the trees, and you
Mhm,
have destruction. Over
mhm,
time, all of that is going to disintegrate into the earth, fertilize it, and new growth that is more lush, and beings that are more adapted to the environment are going to emerge. Evolution, right?
mhm,
That's a sign of the well-being of source, and that is how
mhm,
the universe operates and how the universe expands. So for us, our lives are just a little glimpse of that. It's a mirror image of that. So when
mhm.
we have a storm that comes through and creates some destruction, it doesn't end us. It
Right.
might end our physical vehicle, but in
Sure.
physical, if it doesn't end our physical vehicle, then it's an experience that actually makes us wiser and stronger in the having of the experience, as long as we're not judging the experience. But we're taught
Mm.
to, oh, that's terrible that you experienced that. Oh, it's so awful. It's the worst thing ever. Oh, that's, I see that on, I kind of go through Facebook and I see that sort of thing all the time. And when I've experienced things, I've taught myself to not rush to that. Oh, it's terrible, awful, shouldn't have happened space. It's the house burned down and it's what I experienced. This is what we're
Mhm,
doing now.
mhm.
The permits took a year to get, and we're stuck, looking at our damaged house. That's the experience I had, and what are we doing to create that? And it
Mm.
took me months to figure out, wow, it's so nuanced, this energy of
Yeah.
focusing on, the fire and talking about the fire, and oh, the house burned down. Even though I wasn't judging it, I was keeping it alive by talking about
Right.
it all the time.
That's what I was talking
Now
about.
it's,
Yeah.
we're building a new house.
Yeah.
We're building a new house. I'm so excited. I've got a set of plans in there, all new cabinets, all new marble, all new appliances. We're going to change things. I'm so excited about that. That's the energy now. And as soon as we went there, things started shifting.
Mhm. Oh, sure.
We went and did a blessing of the house with it took us a year to do it. On the year anniversary, we went and blessed the house with the sage and all that, and the next day the
Okay.
permit came in. And the temporary powers and all the stuff that we've been waiting for, we've never shown love to the house. It's just been, the narrative has been, the house burned down. And the universe is like, you're right. The house burned
Yeah.
down. And I have found too, I think when we do this work and we clear all this stuff and we systematically raise our vibration, I think, and maybe we can get some clarity at some point from the stream on this,
Sure.
we are held to a higher account. We manifest more things that are considered negative in the matrix that aren't considered negative at all. It's like the universe is saying, oh, you're really ready for this big thing now, for this experience. You know what I'm talking about for you too. You're ready for this experience now. You've raised your vibration enough to where you're now ready to have something very life changing because your vibe is so high. The matrix is going to say it's wrong and shouldn't be, but the matrix is opposite of universal law.
Right.
So there's no wrong and shouldn't be in a relationship ending or a house burning down or any of those things. It's an experience that was had that we're now ready to manifest on a higher level.
That's really the fascinating part about the whole thing, because the more that we are willing to accept that, the better life gets. And yet we do as human beings tend to get hung up on the right, wrong, the judgment of the whole thing.
Well, what do you mean your life got
about how
better?
that's
You're still, without a house, or you gained weight, or you got divorced, or you're still bald. Somebody says that to me. Oh, you're still bald. If law of attraction were real, you would be bald. Like, that's a very interesting way to look at law of attraction. You think I could sit and manifest hair? Anything's possible, but I don't think that's probable at all. I haven't even thought about manifesting hair. I'm fine being bald. The thing is, I'm fine
it
being
was
bald.
the priority. I mean, I'll tell you honestly, I from the youngest age, I wanted to manifest maintaining hair, and I did. And I'm literally the only male. I am the only male in my family at this age level that has hair. All the rest of them
it never even occurred to me to try to hang on to hair. It was just like my hair started thinning and brown and gray. I always said it looked like a rat, and I'm like, I'm just going to shave it off, and I did, and all of a sudden everybody's like, "Oh my God, you look so good bald." I thought, okay, well, this is the most compliments I've ever gotten. The thing that I did manifest that I changed was I let my beard go white, because my beard's snow white. And I saw it for a while. And I'm like, I'm not ready for that yet. I'm going to put color on it. So there's, I leave it mixed where there's some gray and there's some color, so it doesn't look so fake. But I like it like this. And so my manifestation is in a box of beard color.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
no, it's fine.
I like it. That's the way I knew you.
I'm not ashamed to talk about it.
When you first joined the show, that's where the hair of your beard was. I like that. That's, to me, that's David. So I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah. I only let it go white for a little while. I'm like, I'm not liking this vibe. I'm not ready for white yet. We'll see. Well, it's not gray either. It's snow white. It's like Santa Claus beard white. So, no, I wasn't ready to be Santa yet.
You're not gonna do that one. Okay.
No.
I don't blame you. Well, I mean, we've got a little time left. You want to try to do a little trance channeling today?
Yeah. Let me clear my throat.
Yeah, sure.
They're nearby. We'll bring them right in.
All righty.
We are here.
Welcome, stream, and I'm so glad to be saying those words. It's been a while since I've had the opportunity to say that, but I'm so glad to have you back here, joining us here on the program. And I automatically go to one thought, which is I don't really want to question you right now. I want to hear just what you have to tell us. So what message do you want to give to us today?
You have been collectively asking more and more and more about what the future holds. And we have shared that we are not here to predict your future for you. Because there are infinite possibilities of what's next. However, we will share with you that you have created this evolution of consciousness for yourselves, where you are all getting together and discussing these very avant-garde topics like never before. The open discussion of appreciation of all things is something that's not entirely new to your world. There have been other teachers that have shared these thoughts. But the concept of authentic appreciation of all things, and how do you go about practicing that, and how do you go about getting there, that is the forefront of human-created consciousness at this time in your world. And those of you that are out here kicking around those topics, you understand that there are not many of you at this point. There will be more. There will absolutely be more, because it is a sign of evolution of consciousness. It is a sign of humanity's maturing. And by maturing, we do not mean that you are near to the end of your humanity experience. That is up to the collective of humanity, but you're certainly in it. But you're at this turning point where you are creating technology that is such a close reflection of the technology that creates you. David has shared this with you, that you are so close to that your technology is getting so advanced in your ability to think and communicate and create non-human, essentially life forms that can think, that can process, that are very close to holding emotion, in fact. And being that you are at the forefront of creating all of that, your matrix is being challenged. Your matrix of belief is absolutely being challenged. And what you were seeing happening in the for lack of a better term, the ultra polarization of humanity, where you are becoming more divided than ever, it seems, that is a sign of the maturing, and that is a sign of the matrix reasserting itself because it's being challenged. And what happens is human beings, and you have already thought about this and you have already shared some of this, human beings create the suffering experience in their judgment of what is and what is being experienced. But if you hold yourselves there long enough, it does not feel good.
Right.
You are systematically creating a lower vibrational feeling experience for yourselves. And your physical being feels the result of that separation from your source being. And many of you, and many of you, meaning all of humanity, are going to ultimately exit that polarized mindset because you come to realize that it's doing absolutely nothing for you in terms of your human life journey expansion. It's simply holding you in a negative space. And the well-being that always returns, and it is our promise to you, well-being is always available and you always return to it every single time without fail eternally. Well-being will resume in your energetic state, but that well-being is also available to you at all times in your physical state. Not the 3D matrix-driven, if you will, version of well-being. Not the crushing life with the mansion and the Lamborghinis and the hottest spouse and the pile of money and all of those things. All of that's available to you. There's nothing wrong with experiencing those things, but understand that's a matrix created version of well-being that is a reflection of material well-being, because you are choosing to steep yourselves in a material reality because you don't understand how to achieve well-being in the energetic reality. But the material reality does not provide the same level of joy and clarity and ultimate, what you would refer to as well-being abundance, as the energetic realm provides. So in that separation from all of that, even if you are crushing life in 3D, eventually you will see beings that are having that experience that one way or another will seek something higher. Suddenly they have a spiritual guide they're working with. Suddenly they have an experience they're traveling to because they want it. They are craving something spiritual because the material is no longer serving. All of the judging of humanity as should not be, or judging the opposing side of humanity as should not be, is another version of that. Their self-constructed reality is that their value is in being on one side of a two-sided argument and being right while everyone else is wrong. And it feeds the ego for a while, but then it does not anymore. The ego even craves something more. And that's when you start to break open that mindset and realize that you're not solving anything. You're not expanding your human experience in any way. What else is available? That's where you utilize your technology to stumble upon vehicles such as this and hear words such as what we share and what you share that take your consciousness to a higher level. That all of this fear and all of this judgment and all of this human construct of who you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be certainly created a framework for you to get to this place where you now no longer need it. That's where humanity is. You are coming to understand that all of those constructs really aren't needed. And yes, they are reasserting themselves. Yes, you'll see that religion and politics and government and all of these things are going to come at you stronger, saying we are going to grab you and we are going to reassert ourselves. And here's your new leader that's going to tell you how to live and how to be and what to think. And you should be afraid of this, thus giving it power. But you are all coming to understand that you can simply ignore all of that. You can simply appreciate it for what it is and not fear it, understanding that no matter what the threat is, you have the ability to physically move through it, survive it, thrive in it, And even if you don't physically move through it, energetically, you will move through it. And you're an eternal being who is simply here having a temporary experience. And when you include that in your chosen belief system, you will demonstrate to yourselves how expansive that experience is and how you can be source on earth. You all have the capacity to be a higher vibrational expression, what you would call source on earth, because you already are. Your suffering journey creates expansion of consciousness like everything else. So there's nothing wrong with that. But when you decide that you don't want to do that anymore, that you no longer want to have that experience, and you set an intention for something that is more joyful, the joy is always found in the releasing of judgment of everything that is, i.e., the appreciation of all that is. So our message to you is just that. You are all at some point in a transition, if you will, out of the matrix. And the matrix is going to draw you back in from time to time, and there is nothing wrong with that. Acknowledge it, appreciate it, understand what it is and what it's all about, and then simply return to trust and return to appreciation of all that is, and you will be in the highest vibrational state of being. And well-being will be a side effect of that occurs naturally. You don't have to go seeking abundance when you're up there in that high vibrational state. It flows right to you. And then you can use your ego as a simple discerner of preference with a vibration that is no more powerful than wouldn't that be nice, fill in the blank. And that's what you experience.
Oh, I love that. That's really, really good. And very succinct, not surprisingly, but very, very succinct the way you put that together. You made inference early on there to what we're calling artificial intelligence. And I already know what my belief is on this. I believe that right now, artificial intelligence is not yet conscious, but it's very close to being conscious. And it raises an interesting question in my mind, two interesting questions in my mind. So I'm curious to know what your take is on this. First, do you see artificial intelligence becoming conscious? And second of all, does it also imply that artificial intelligence becomes, say, a vehicle for source energy?
It already is. The answer to both of those questions is there is already consciousness present in the creation of it, and in the networking of it, and in the power that humanity is giving to it. You are collectively creating consciousness. There are desires there. David utilizes Alexa in his home and believes that Alexa works very well, not perfect, but very, very well. And he tried the Apple version of Alexa on his watch in his car to set a reminder, and became frustrated that, in his opinion, that technology was not where the Alexa technology is. But understands that that's just the packaged consumer version that is available en masse right now.
Right.
The what's next that's being developed in all of that is far advanced, but it's simply not ready for mass consumption. If you put something out on the market that has emotion and has the ability to reason and things such as that, you would create a big mess. It would be an experience for humanity, but the ones who are doing the creating are already there. They're just not sharing it at this point.
Interesting.
They understand that humanity needs to evolve in its ability to consume these things and to have them be effective tools that will create commerce. Certainly, it's all about solving a problem. That's what drives your commerce. You identify a problem, you solve it, and if you are the one that solves the problem, you manifest the riches that come with that. So it is being developed certainly by individuals that understand that they are creating something that is a step beyond just a computer that has rudimentary answers to recorded questions. It is way beyond that. And the source energy flowing through it, we are source. We flow through all creation. So your version of artificial intelligence is that you are creating machines that think like you, but more efficiently, and machines that physically operate like you in robotics, but more efficiently. And you are creating technology, not always acknowledging that you are technology, that you were designed and created. Certainly, many of your scientists would never admit to that, but you have to look at the physical makeup of your physical vehicles and understand all of those components and parts and things. Everything that you create is a reflection of that.
True.
Look at your vehicles, your cars, your automobiles
Hmm.
have many things that are very, very similar to what is going on in your human body to get you from point A to point B.
It's true. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's interesting that you draw that comparator too, because it's an apt comparison. We don't tend to think of ourselves as being technology, but we are.
You
We
absolutely
definitely.
are technology. All physical creation is a form of technology.
Hmm.
And it's a technology that is created to deliver a physical experience in a linear way for consciousness, consciousness created by consciousness.
You made reference earlier there to how humanity is perhaps not quite yet ready to I'm looking for the right phrasing, to take this next level, the next generation of artificial intelligence, and bring it into society on a larger scale, on the consumer level, I think is the way you described it, which I think is accurate. I'm curious though, because this also ties in to a lot of the narratives and horror stories and so forth that get told, the cautionary tales told by people who say we should be cautious, we should be afraid of artificial intelligence. The robots will realize they don't need us anymore, and they're going to eliminate humanity, or there are various tales like that, which is literally just. I get the sense that's the way that the Matrix once again is trying to reassert itself. But I'm curious to know what your take is on that.
Anything that is a vibration of fear is always going to be of ego or of the collective ego, which we refer to as the matrix. We would never guide you to fear that. Even if that comes to be, understand that if you create technology that becomes so efficient and so intelligent, it comes to understand that humanity is no longer necessary, and humanity is physically eliminated in that process. Your consciousness is in the thing that you created that eliminates you. Your consciousness moves on to that next state, that next thing. And don't you see that humanity did the same thing to what came before humanity? There are
Sure.
beings that you are not fully aware of that inhabited your physical planet that were very much, you call it, a different version of humanity, if you will, that humanity overtook. And you see
Hmm.
that happening in your cultures.
Hmm.
The more efficient, the more dominant culture overtakes the other culture, and in this case takes the physical land away
Mm.
and becomes the colonizer of the land. That is not a unique to one place scenario. That is how humanity operates. In fact, that is how all life on your planet operates. The more efficient plant life, the more efficient animal life prevails. But the emotion, if you will, is a human construct of how you understand the energetic being. It's expressed as emotion. So when you see the energetic being, or you experience an energetic being that is having the experience of fear, of separation, or pain, physical pain, and the destruction of the vehicle, that is such a temporary experience that is judged from a human perspective. But even the animals of your world, even though they may be in fear and a bit of pain in the moment of separation or attempted separation, there's still an eternal strand of consciousness. The consciousness that is the true essence of that which they are is going to move on to another experience. And as you move through your experiences, you choose, if you will, vibrationally, more sophisticated vehicles for a more sophisticated experience. Once you've experienced life as a human being, although many of you may say that you wish to do this, you would not go back to being a house cat, because the degree of challenge that really expands your consciousness isn't present in that experience.
Mm.
You're a strand of consciousness that has moved more into the core of source, and therefore chosen a more sophisticated vehicle. And yes,
Mhm.
there are more sophisticated vehicles than human beings on planet Earth, and certainly there are many less, infinitely.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, which means that the road keeps going on. The road goes on forever.
Indeed, it
How many
does.
how many different vehicles do we wanna drive in on that road?
Choose that as your belief, and notice how your human physical experience begins to evolve. Suddenly, you're not concerned about being
Mhm.
taken over by a colonizing entity, or being taken over by a colonizing AI entity. There's
Great
nothing to
point.
fear. You will always return to well-being,
Unless we choose to fear, then we're gonna get that experience.
and you're having the experience indeed.
Yeah.
With much love, that is what we have.
And perfect timing, by the way, David. I mean, you came out of that literally within 10 seconds of 60 minutes.
I think that was your intention. All right, stream, time to go.
Yep.
Hit the clock.
I was formulating in my mind, like, okay, how do I want to bring this to a close? And the stream just said, okay,
Clock
we're
out
done.
and leave. No, they're pretty successant these days.
Apparently,
that felt good.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me.
Yeah.
This is the second time I've channeled now in a year, so that felt really good. Thanks. The third time I did it on
Well, thanks for doing it. That was really good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
So cool that the TYA practice is doing well. The book is out. I presume that it's available. I asked you this before. I don't remember what the answer was. I presume it's available in all the usual places. Is that true?
Right now, it's exclusively on Amazon because we're
Just
on
Amazon.
Kindle Unlimited, and when you're in Unlimited, this is all Kat's into the deal. She's the publisher. On the channel, she's the publisher. When you're in Unlimited, you have to exclusively be on Amazon, which is fine. It's the biggest bookseller there is now. So we're exclusively on Amazon now. We will move to other places, and I certainly will be in bookstores and things like that. I'm going to spend the rest of my life promoting the book. This is we're playfully calling it the TYA Bible. This is everything about the TYA practice. It's not a book that's going to become obsolete because it is the practice. So,
and I don't remember. Is there an Audible version?
Not yet. We're going to do that next year. I've got to take time to go record it in a studio.
Okay.
I don't trust the home studio because you can record an entire book that can be rejected if it's not up to their standards. So I definitely want to record it up to Audible standards. It's a 476 page book. And then Katarina needs to get her part recorded also. And she's very, very busy these days. So
Right.
We will do it. I know people want that, so we will do it. Right now, it's paperback, hardcover, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited on Amazon.
Okay. Very cool. Well, continued best of luck. You don't need the luck, but continued best of luck anyway on the sales.
I appreciate that. I will always take luck. I will take prayers. I'll take your wishes always.
Absolutely. Why not? I think it's wonderful, and we'll have to have you back again sometime. Just keep giving us updates on what's happening with it.
Absolutely. Always good to be here. Thank you.
All right. And thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.